On this week's episode of Circles Off, me and Johnny are going to recap the holidays, the time we spent with our families, and what we did over the holiday break. And then we're going to get into some other topics. Sportsbooks are starting to refund bets at a higher rate if your player gets injured early on in the game. Is that a bad precedent? We're going to talk about that. And also, we're going to get into some Twitter beefs. Joey Knish versus Unabated Sports. Diggs versus Adam Chernoff. All that and more on this week's Circles Off. Welcome to Circles Off, episode number 82 here on the Hammer Betting Network. You can check out all of our content over at thehammer.bet. Rob Pizzola joined by Johnny from Betstamp, number 82.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, number 82. Coming straight from the, what is that?
Probably one of my wife's hairs directly on my shirt and in my mouth.
All right.
What a start to the show.
We'll skip past that. Number 82, my favorite number 82 has got to be the All-American tight end.
Oh, of course. Witten
Jason
the Kitten.
Jason Witten.
The Kitten. As nobody knows what I'm talking about. This is a very obscure reference. But when I used to work at Hardcore Sports Radio, there was a guy named Clam Chowder. Still exists to this day. Big fan of the show, who used to refer to Jason Witten as Witten the Kitten. Around that time as well, wide receiver Jimmy Smith. Remember Jimmy Smith?
I do.
He was an 82, but former NHLer. I'm not going to call this guy a draft bust because he wasn't. I don't even know when he was drafted. Marty Straka,
number 82. Marty Straka. Jason Witten, if anyone has a Jason Witten Raiders jersey, Oakland Raiders, that's a jersey and a half, man. His last season.
It was depressing when he went to a team that wasn't but by Jason Witten had
Didn't he go in the booth for a year, then go back to the Raiders?
I believe so, yes. But also, the guy played on, a lacerated spleen one year.
Yeah.
That guy he was the definition of, a warrior.
Who's old reliable? Jason Witten.
Old reliable, Jason Witten.
They literally called him that.
Jason Witten was a guy that ran that, 10-yard curl. If you need a first down, he's going to catch the ball.
Yeah. Good player.
He was actually, though, early in his career, he was way more explosive than people will ever remember him for because he played a long time and he was beat down by the end. So, by the end, all he could really do was, run these, short curls. And, he was, that guy, 5 yards, turn around, catch the ball quickly. But, what a player, man. Jason Witten was an incredible player.
I'll rant on tight ends for a second because this guy is just still kicking. And he's not even bad. Mercedes Lewis. How is the guy still doing it on the Packers, still catching a few touchdowns? I don't even know if he's going to retire next season. He's still good. He blocks. He slips out once in a while.
Yeah.
And the catch he made on Christmas there, dude, that guy still has it. Mercedes Lewis. Long time with the Jags. Went over. I think he played a couple teams, and now he's on the Packers, and he's still doing the damn thing. Good for him. Mercedes Lewis. I think he's probably older than Witten.
I wonder how they came up with that. Because he spells his name Mercedes. It's not Mercedes, like the brand. It's very different. Very unique. But I've always, Mercedes Lewis was a staple on my fantasy teams when I used to be big into fantasy football. He was the guy, man. Love that guy.
Let me see if he's older than Witten. Jason Witten, age. Okay, Mercedes Lewis, born in 1984. Quite old. Jason Witten.
Mercedes Lewis is older than me.
Age, Witten's an 82. And 82. That's why he wears 82. He just solved it.
Now it all comes together. It all makes sense.
It all comes full circle. Well, episode 82, what we are going to do today is a couple things to let Rob give the agenda here.
Yeah, so let's start with it. You might be listening to episode 82 or watching it before episode 81. There is an episode 81. It will get out there eventually. Don't want to give too much information away, but it's going through an approval process right now to make sure everything in the episode is kosher and can be played for air. So we will release it at some point.
Approval process not on our end. We're waiting on.
We're waiting, but it's a solid episode. It's a long one. It's a banger. We really had a great time. It's an interview. That's all I'm going to say. Stay tuned for it. Maybe it's already out. Who knows? But 81, 82, consider them interchangeable. This episode, we're recording after Christmas. I'll talk to Johnny a little bit about how our Christmases went. I had some very interesting experiences with my family that I want to go over. But we're we're going through a period of some Twitter drama that we're going to discuss. There's some beefs that are happening. Now, not all of you out there who listen or watch this may be in tune with these characters and people on Twitter, so we'll do our best to explain what's going on, and we'll give our perspective on some of these situations. As a reminder, Pinnacle Sportsbook is the official sponsor here of Circles Off. They are the world's sharpest sportsbook, and they're now available in Ontario. Find out what professional bettors have known for decades. Pinnacle is where the best bettors play. You must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Not available in the United States. Let's get into it. Holiday. How were your holidays, by the way?
It's pretty good. Can't complain. It's a nice little break that you have to force. I think having NFL on the day is a net negative, though. Mm-hmm. I would rather have Christmas Day fall on like a Tuesday. Just because then it's like, I'm still wanting to bet these games, still want to do all this stuff. And then, now you just bet in, and then you might be at the parents' house for the holidays, might be here. And it's just like, more of a mess. But for a lot of people, I know that's the saving grace. You got to go home, see your family, which obviously respect. You have to do that. And a lot of people don't like it. Not me, love my family. But in the event that you do, at least you're like, I get to bet on the games and watch something.
I think I agree with you. It's challenging. So I go, same thing for me every year. I go to my parents on Christmas Eve. I go to my in-laws on Christmas Day. But I'm not like, I can't remove myself from football. So I'm like the guy that's going to get up from the table every 10 minutes to walk into another room, watch like 3 plays, then return. But if the game's close, like the end of the Cowboys game, for example, Cowboys-Eagles on Saturday night, I'm going to be a write-off for my family for a little bit.
Yeah, they gotta understand that.
They do. I don't like to be that person, but it's hard for me not to be. Like the beauty of Christmas Day, at least, was the Rams-Broncos game. Like was a dud. I checked the score; it was like 17-0 already. I'm like, okay, it's okay. We'll do dessert, coffee and cookies, and I'll sit at the table and be a good guy. But
you weren't sweating a Greg Dulcich anytime touchdown.
I was not. I was not sweating. Well, listen, I already had a bet on the Broncos in that game, I'm like, what the hell happened here? Like, this game's over already. So that was a really bad bet. Closing line value, good. The actual result, pretty bad. My Saturday night, like Christmas Eve at my parents' is always weird every year because, we do dinner and then there's like nothing going on. My mother she refuses to do like gifts on Christmas Eve. Even though we're all together at that night, I have to go back to her house in the morning to open up gifts with the family. They can't, I don't know what it is with her. God forbid we do gifts on Christmas Eve. It's like sacrilegious or something like that. We can't do it. So we bust out the board games. But like, it's my, me, my wife, my brother, my sister, my parents, and then my brother's godparents are always there. And let's just say it's a very unique group of individuals. We're not going to, bust out any,
Monopoly?
Well,
great game.
Monopoly is a great game, but like, once you get the Monopoly strategy, like they're not going to want to play Monopoly with me. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, listen, what would you say you are in a game versus them for Monopoly?
There's still some luck involved, obviously, because there's dice, but I mean, I know the optimal Monopoly strategies.
I'll play you one-on-one.
Yeah, like we probably are going to be like pretty much a coin flip against one another.
I got some
3 houses,
I got some tricks
oranges and reds, and like it's I got the heat map of the Monopoly board memorized.
What's the best color for a 2-player game?
2-player, I don't know. I would guess orange.
It is the reds. It's the reds.
That whole corner is just like, if you own that corner, you're in.
Reds are the number 1. And then for the 2-player game, I believe the number 2 is I'll call it light blues.
Yeah.
Light blues. Quick to buy hotels.
Yep.
You need the cash up. But really, it's just about a matter of getting the sets.
So
and not trading a guy's sets. If
right. This is one of the frustrating things with board games where there's trading involved and that's like multiplayer. If you're not part of the trade, watching like a bad exchange happen always triggers me.
in a 4-player game, that is frustrating. However, what you could do is like, if people don't really play by the real rules of Monopoly, but technically you're actually able to pay someone in like property.
Yes.
For rent if you land on something with hotels after, and or you can put that up for auction before paying someone.
Right.
And then anyone has a chance to actually bid highest. So in the past, it's like, okay, or people are like, yeah, no, I'll trade you this. I'll give you all my stuff. It's like, okay, you're just ruining the game. Like, don't do that. But if you just play by the real rules, they do have it figured out. You know, everything goes up for auction, highest bidder grabs, and then you repay rent. If you're bankrupt, you're bankrupt. Even if you go bankrupt, you're still able to put everything for auction beforehand.
Right.
It's a good game.
Yeah, listen, Monopoly's a classic. Don't get me wrong. It's
What's the most landed on space in the game?
It's a good question. I don't remember off the top. I only remember like heat map colors. So I don't know the exact most landed on space.
Believe the most landed on space.
I'm going to guess it would probably be the first chance.
The initial chance?
Yeah.
Because advanced to go? Oh, sorry. It actually probably is. But I know one of the most landed on property, depending on the size of game, is actually Boardwalk.
Because of the chance cards.
Yeah. 3 cards.
Yeah.
Advanced to
that makes
Boardwalk.
sense. But because you're on go more than probably any space, and because of the likelihood of rolling 7, I would
that
figure
chance
the first
is probably
chances.
good. And then also out of jail. Oh, that orange.
Yeah,
that's why the
true.
Reds. That's why the Reds are so valuable.
Exactly.
Because you get out of jail, you're
and
typically going to roll 5, 6, 7. You can roll an 11, 12 right away. Gets you, or actually, I think the 12 is the chance there. Anyways,
yes,
Monopoly. This is so
great
absurd,
game.
man.
Well,
hearing you guys talk about this is so funny.
Johnny is
you
very
ever
much
played
like
Monopoly or no?
Yeah, but when I never like played Monopoly until when I was in 4th year university, I was graduated during COVID.
Yes.
And we just said, all right, forget it. We're going to stay here as long as we possibly can until basically like rent is up. And the other guys ended up staying in the house after. I was the only one, me and one guy graduated. So we just stayed there and just would like drink all day and play board games. We would play like 8 hours of Monopoly sitting there, but it was like,
You didn't learn anything?
So
no, man, I was just drinking all day. Like,
see, you did it as a drink. Like I if you know my personal background, like I started betting on sports when I was in high school. I was in either grade 9 or grade 10. But with that came betting with my friends on anything that we did. So you can't afford to just play Monopoly casually.
No.
Because when you're playing Monopoly, you're going to play for money. And when you're playing for money, at least when I am, I don't want to lose money. So you're going to learn the optimal rules of everything you do. You're going to play Mario Kart for money. You got to know where the shortcuts are. You got to know the strategies of, basically you want to be in last, but as close to first as possible.
Yep. So you can get the better weapons.
Correct.
Or
like
items.
Items, right? So there's all these strategies, and that's why like I cannot approach a game from a casual perspective.
But the funnest part of anything, and it's not even sports betting related, but it kind of is like solving an unsolved game or even solving a solved game already. So if there's a game that's already solved, like this is the optimal strategy, if you just look at it yourself and you're like, oh, I found out this, it's actually fun to do it on your own and see like what the strategy is.
Agreed.
But also if you play, you're going to memorize stuff and just, it's easy.
Yeah, no, like I play tons of games. Me and my wife, Diana, we do tons of games. Our friends, we play tons of games. We do a lot of co-op stuff because if we play against each other, things get heated a lot of the times. Like I don't like losing. I'll throw it out. I'm not a sore loser by any stretch, but like I don't like losing, and people don't like losing to me, period. Especially, if it's happening over and over. So that's my group of friends. But like Settlers, for example, Settlers is a great game, right? But I'd much rather play Settlers with 3 people, 3 others that know how to play, than watch some asshole like trading, doesn't know how to make the trades and like trading to people who have 8 victory points.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
No good.
That stuff rattles me.
I like playing Monopoly, but it like people are like, oh, Monopoly takes like hours. Literally, I'll play heads up versus my brother, and we finish a game in like 30 minutes. And the reason is because when we roll, we just kind of do like we know everything of where to go. So you'll just roll like 11 here, bang, dice here, collect money. Just take it yourself. It's like an honor system. There's no banker. Oh, give me this. Like land on the property, buy here, bang, take it in. It's done. He's rolling. Like if you go quick, Monopoly doesn't take 4 hours. It takes 4 hours if you go 11. 1, 2, 3, 4,
I know.
5.
Come on.
Bang the board, buddy. Just move your piece.
I can't handle that. No, I'm the guy who'd be picking up the pieces, moving them right before. Like, I'm not gonna do that. But
it's so easy to just. There's only 12, and the board is corners, so like you could just move it. It's easy.
So every Christmas Eve, my mother always will break out the bingo set. That's what she likes to do. She likes to play bingo with everybody. I don't know about you guys out there who are watching, but in my opinion, bingo sucks. Bingo is brutal. Like, it's a game of pure chance that involves like no thinking whatsoever. Like, someone reads a number and you mark it. Like, there's no fun in bingo for me. So I think slowly people in my family are starting to come over to this side. So they're like, oh, let's do something else this year. My sister's like, why don't we play categories? We had done categories as a family before, and I just smoke everyone in my family. And they're like, no, we're not doing categories because Rob's too good, and he's going to ruin it. It's not going to be fun. I'm like, okay, I won't play. I'll just be like the judge. Because you know how categories works, right? Like, there's always arguments on, like, does this word count? Does it mean something? Is it too close to this? It just always ends up in the exact same thing. So we broke out the categories. We're playing categories. And my God, what a heated event amongst my family. Like, if you want one game that will tear a family apart, it's got to be categories. Like, the
rules of the game are so clear, yet so unclear. And that's why you need an impartial judge.
Yes. So, like, okay, I'll give you some random examples, okay? One of the categories is things found in a desert.
Yeah, what if I put food?
So
would you count that or no?
Here's the letter was A. My mother answered air. Do you give air as thing found in the desert?
No. Personally, I don't. But that's because I play by the honor system of you have to actually get something that's for the clue. Otherwise, be like, oh, for example, things in a kitchen, food. Acceptable answer.
Yes.
Things in the bedroom. Food. Not acceptable answer.
Agreed.
Yes. Could you put food in the bedroom? Do you sometimes eat a snack of popcorn? Yes. Okay, fine. But that's not the
We're on the same page here, man. We're on the same page. Like, obviously there's air in the desert, but like you're trying to pick something that's specific to a desert, like cactus, camel, sand.
Would you put airplane?
I like people to explain their rationale too. When, like, their thought process when they were putting it down, because then you really know whether or not they're trying to game the system. That's how you really know. But no, I probably wouldn't. It's tough. It's really tough because, like you said, the rules are very clear, but they're really not clear.
They're really not that clear.
So we get a lot of, let's just say amongst my family, a lot of debatable answers. And that causes...
So the biggest pet peeve of mine is, like, let's say it's like, hey... things like if anyone puts the actual color of something before it, that doesn't count. But in some scenarios, it counts. Okay. Example, vegetable, green beans counts. Green bean is an actual vegetable. It's a type of bean. Tree, blue willow counts. Mm-hmm. Blue, right? But you can't just put blue guitar for instruments.
Agreed. I listen.
I hate that game, man. Honestly, I'll retire from playing that game I hate that game.
I honestly can't play it. I can't do it because it just leads to broken friendships and suffering for everyone. It's a game that just incites anger amongst everyone, even if you're not an angry person.
Worst game.
The worst. And then what happens when you put when two people have answers that are very similar, but they're not the exact same, and they're always arguing like, no, those are different, and it's like, they're really not, though. Like,
you need an impartial judge. You need one person.
I was trying to be that person. I'll never be that job again. It's even worse than playing the game itself, because then everybody goes, oh, you gave him that, you gave him this, you did that. And it's like, okay, like, it's Christmas Eve, people. Like, this is like...
I love those memes though about people like arguing with their family over the holidays. All the accounts, like all the Instagram accounts, start posting them. They're like, "Yeah, walk it out of your family because you just lost a board game or whatever." And then another one's like, "Me coming back this year, telling everyone that the advice I gave last year was not financial advice."
So here's a fun. So the rules of categories encourage creative answers, by the way. If people have read this, like thinking outside the box for answers. So here's one. One of the categories is terms of endearment. Someone at Christmas Eve puts movie. Letters M, they put movie. A term of endearment is like, what would you call it, your spouse or whatever. Technically, terms of endearment was a movie. There's a movie called Terms of... They're like, oh, creative answer. I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I don't even know at this point.
Yeah, I'd give that.
I gave it. But like, holy shit, did that cause like a shitstorm? They're like, no, that's not the spirit of the question and whatever. I'm like, I mean, it is a creative answer. I think maybe they misunderstood the question and wasn't meant to
but that works still.
I agree.
I'd give that a point.
I completely agree.
And another example is like you have like things you throw away. G. This is what I got over Christmas. Things you throw away. G. Obviously garbage, the easiest one, right?
Yeah.
But someone's going to put that. You don't want to cancel out. I tossed down there grenade. Things you throw away. Now, that's a dub.
Well, you throw it away from you.
Exactly.
100%. That's a great answer.
It happens. I'd love to play categories, but then I'd also love to never play.
I have zero desire to ever play categories again. Ever. Period. Like,
it's also not enough time. Give a little bit extra time on the timer, man.
So I because I'm the one controlling the game, they're always complaining about the time. So I just add like 30 seconds or a minute. Because like I'm watching them fill out the cards and like I don't know how you do but like I see people just put the first letter in like every category. It's a complete waste of time. I don't know why anyone does that, but they waste 30 seconds doing that. Of course they have no time for anything else. It's like you don't have to fill out the first letter for everything down the card. Just go through the card and start filling stuff out. If you don't have an answer, skip it, move on.
All right, Zach, how long have we been at this for?
Yeah, too long.
25 minutes.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to Circles Off.
I'm sure there's people that can relate though. I'm sure everybody has
just put a note in the intro saying, hey, if you want to listen to Rob and Johnny talk about board games and strategy, then come to this point. If not, skip it now. Okay. And right now,
I actually do want to comment though. I want comments of the board game that you hate the most. I need to know because I just need to know. In the comments on YouTube, board game that you hate the most, if you do it.
The Game of Life. There's no real winner.
Clue sucks too.
I never played Clue.
Clue is trash.
You won't catch me.
There's a lot of popular games. Most of the popular games are pure trash. Like all the Battleship sucks.
Battleship, phenomenal game.
Battleship is horrible.
You don't use actual strategy, man.
Of course, again, every game I've played, I've incorporated some sort of strategy in the past.
Battleship, I'm confident, and I'll dust you.
You're confident in Battleship.
Yeah, play 10 games, and I'm confident You know what? I'll even go as far as say first game. I'm confident I can.
No, but I would rather do a long sample, like 10 games, and you have to win 6 of them. If you do
10 games, then the first 3 I'm going to be favored, and then you're going to see what I'm doing, and then you're going to be favored. You're going to just be even for the next game. That's why I'm saying. I see what that's why I'm saying a one gamer. I'd even put a.
I'm not confident that I'm not stupid enough to say that I'm confident in Battleship. Is what I'm getting at.
It's a good game.
You should go to the World Series of Battleship every year, man.
I don't know if I'm on that level, guys. Come on.
Bro, the World Series of like that rock, paper, scissors competition they have every year.
Phenomenal.
I almost want to do like a live hammer event from there.
For the rock, paper, scissors?
That has to be the most electric. You know how like you ever watch darts on TV and like the people are going nuts? You know, like they're in the back.
Darts is one of my favorite things ever.
Phenomenal.
Yes, but like first of all, those darts venues are way bigger than they look. There's people that are like basically a kilometer away, a mile away,
the TV.
On watching. Like they don't know what's going, but they're going because everyone's having beers and getting nuts. That rock, paper, scissors, in my opinion, should be exactly like that.
Yeah, that could be. They could do a good
that could blow up. That could really blow up if given some attention.
You like those slap fighting championships they're starting now?
It's hard for me to watch, man. Like, especially the first guy, like when the first guy takes that slap and you could tell that he's confident, like, and the guy that gave him the first slap, you could see it in his face, like, oh no. And then they just get.
But like, they don't even knock him out all the time.
No.
Right? So like sometimes it goes to, the one I watched at least, it goes to 3. And then if you didn't knock him out, then it's like judges.
Yeah.
That's got to go. Come on.
I'm
not watching that for the judges in the slap fighting, you know? Like, knock them out, you know?
It's hard for me to watch. I don't know why. Because all I can picture when I'm watching that is myself getting slapped in the head.
Yeah, I wouldn't play that myself.
No. I mean, first of all, how do you get involved in that in life?
I don't know.
Like, are you hurting for money and you got to enter like slap fighting contests? Is it because you're big? And maybe there's like a characteristic that you have, like you're just, you like man, like I'm a man. I'm gonna slap this guy out. I'm a man.
No, I would never do anything like that.
No, thank you.
All right, let's get into the gambling portion of the episode here. So Rob, will let you kick it off.
Yes. So what we had this week was a number of things on gambling Twitter in specific, but we'll focus on one to start here.
You want to start with the bad beats, actually? So it'll be quicker. Devin Booker?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's start with that.
Thank you.
So Devin Booker gets injured, leaves the game. And as is the case nowadays, when people leave games, there is a uproar from the general public to sportsbooks demanding refunds for their overs on Devin Booker bets. And we've talked a little bit about this before. It's not every sportsbook in the world that's doing it. There are some in particular that are doing it. But this is particularly a trigger point for me, Johnny, because I think people forget that when you're betting a player prop or you're betting everything, for the most part, you have a two-way market. So if you're going to go bet Devin Booker on points, on rebounds, on assists, points, rebounds plus assists, turnovers, steals, whatever market you're going to bet, you're going to have an over and you're going to have an under. And I think that you set a bad precedent when you are constantly refunding for player injuries to people who've only bet the over, because there's no scenario in which you're going to ever get a refund on an under. Now, the bettor can start to take this into account. However, it almost seems like it's pick and choose as to when this happens. Like if there's enough of an uproar, it happens, but it's not happening for every game.
No, it's only when it's an uproar. But I would like to comment on this. So I think what a lot of people aren't really realizing is this is like an amazing PR stunt for the sports book, right? So this comes out of the marketing budget, not necessarily out of the trading budget. That's a big, big difference, and I'll tell you why. The traders at the sports book typically are going to make money, and then they're going to have either a bonus or a review or something tied to the performance of the trading for the sports book. So if you're a trader, excuse me, you're not going to want to refund bets. You're like, oh, well, we would have made all this money. Why would we refund this? That's where it gets a little tricky. It doesn't come out of that budget typically. Speaking from a couple contacts I've talked to here, it would come out of a marketing budget, meaning what happens in these scenarios is the trading team would have, graded all the bets. The marketing team will say, okay, trading team, how much are we going to have to pay out if we pay out all the Devin Booker props? The trading team's then going to say, okay, for Devin Booker, it's going to cost $125,000 in free bets. They're going to say, okay, we're going to refund it in free bets. What are those free bets worth? Because they're not one-to-one in terms of expected value. Mm-hmm. So they'll say, okay, we're giving out 100, call it 100,000 in free bets. We might have an expected value on those of 50,000. So it's costing us 50,000 out of our marketing budget that we're going to transfer over to the trading team. And we are going to get all this PR of people that are like, wow, FanDuel avoided this. This is amazing. Like, we got our money back on this. Like, I'm switching over to FanDuel. I had this prop at this other book. If I had it at FanDuel, it would have been, I would have had my money back. Like, I'm going to bet these at FanDuel moving forward. And in these scenarios, it's very smart for the sportsbook to do that because they are spending that 50 grand to gain a lot of players and to make their existing players a lot happier. In this scenario, like, I can't fault the book for doing this, and it really does make sense. But what I do want to make sure is, like, at least if you're doing this, you should know that, like, this is not going to happen for every single one. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no guarantee where you could just do this. So if they were to say, for example, I'll give you another scenario. Let's say week 1 of the playoffs, and Justin Jefferson has a yardage total of 99 yards, and everyone's betting him over, and he's in all these parlays and stuff like that. And it's a really big handle because it's a playoff game or a primetime. And then Jefferson goes down at the beginning of the game. It might be a different conversation because now FanDuel, trader might say, yeah, well, this was a really, really big one for us. This is going to cost us $600,000 now instead of $50,000. It's going to cost us $500,000. At that point, there you're likely not getting a bad bet refund because it's going to be way more expensive to give that press to you, and it's not going to pay out. So it really is a formula within all these books. There's no rhyme or reason. They are absolutely doing it based on the ROI that they're getting, and that's why it's always decided after the fact and not beforehand. The only book I know of that does this, and at least markets it, is Bet365 with their, in soccer, they have a 0-0 called the boring game payout, something like that. So if you bet on a soccer game and it ends 0-0 draw, they refund you, I believe it's your amount back in free bets. And that's something where they advertise it and then they adjust the pricing and they're like, this is what it is. So if you're betting a soccer game and you're going to watch it, 365 might be the place for you because you get that bad beat, boring bet refund. That's my stance on the whole thing is like, I don't mind if the sports books do it, but just keep in mind, like, I don't think this is a reason to switch over to one sports book or another and bet your props at one or another, because at the end of the day, like, it's going to be completely random. And just take it when you get it, and it is what it is.
So your point is well taken on like the marketing angle of it. I think that's important. And like, I'm not here to tell sports books like what they should or shouldn't do, but we're seeing the results now of what happens when you do it in the first place. Like if you do it 2 or 3 times and you start to refund people, make this a big PR thing. And like, oh, we're giving all these bettors back and we're going to get articles written about giving this money to bettors back. You then create this ecosystem where it becomes the expectation. And that's what we're in now. Like people calling out sports books for not voiding bets is the ecosystem that has been created by some recreational sports books who have been voiding bets. So in my opinion, what I think should happen is the sports book takes a hard stance one way or another and doesn't make it just open to like interpretation. So it's either we're not going to do this. We offer over and under on every market. You're free to bet both. Our prices, by the way, account for the fact that a player could get injured. Like people don't realize this, but when a book or the market sets the price on an over-under, it's accounting for a very, very small percentage that player doesn't play.
And it's accounting for a small percentage that the game goes to overtime and the player gets an extra 5 minutes.
Right. But that stuff is included in the pricing. So either you take a stance, in my opinion, that says, we're not going to refund this. If this is your expectation, then go play elsewhere. I would argue that probably most people who are asking for these types of refunds anyways are lower value players. That's just speculation, but whatever. Then on the other side of it, you could just institute a rule, like a sports book rule that says if a player does not play X amount of minutes in a game, then this prop is, the overs are voided or something along those lines. And then it's not open to interpretation. Then you're not stuck messaging the sports book every single time your player gets hurt and so on and so forth. And it just becomes a rule. You can now incorporate that into your pricing, and you can now, like, everybody knows what the expectation is beforehand. The in-between is what bothers me, where it's just like, okay, this is causing a shitstorm, let's do it. And then there's going to be some player that goes off in an EPL game that pulls their hamstring in like the first 8 minutes, and you're never going to hear of it again. And that guy's going to message FanDuel customer support and say, hey guys, what the hell? You're refunding this Devin Booker bet, and they're going to say you're shit out of luck. So like, there's going to also be like a negative impact for the sportsbook for doing that as well.
There may be. That would be an interesting angle. Like if you could do kind of like an if bet, but in the game. So like I want, like even in a same game parlay, if you could correlate like minutes played, that would be pretty cool.
Over insurance?
No, just, I would even say like as an alternate angle to bet, it would be like, okay, I'm betting. So it's like you could do an if this doesn't happen, then the bet gets void, and then you price it in. It'd be a nightmare for sports books to price, but that would be awesome. It's like, okay, I want Justin Jefferson over on yards, and I want on a same game parlay over on yards, receptions, and to get a touchdown. But if he plays less than 40 snaps, then or less than a certain amount of snaps, then I want my bet to be void. You could price that in.
You, in my opinion, yes, you absolutely could price that in. You almost wouldn't even have to. Like, think about 99% of bettors, right? And probably a lot of the people that are watching or listening to this are not in that 99%, but there is a very, very, very large percentage of bettors that are not price sensitive at all. If a sportsbook were to implement like an over insurance, you just click a box, it adds 2 cents to your bet, you pay 2 cents extra vig on your bet. But if your player doesn't play 25% of the game, it's void. How many people would click that button and pay the 2 extra cents?
Probably a lot.
I would say more than half, if not 3/4, if not high. Like, you could, it's a little bit shitty, but we know sportsbook operators are in the business of making money. That's why they run a sportsbook. It's not for your, so you can, they want you to have an enjoyable experience, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's a business. So something like that would be massive.
Probably make money off that. I don't know if 2 cents is the number, but
Well,
whatever it is.
Whatever that you're
It'd
gonna
be
have a
different by
mathematician.
sport too. Like it'd be different by sport. Like
Right.
NBA might be like a little. Yeah, it's different by sport. Hockey, you get injured less. Whatever. Who knows?
But then at that point, you're now giving the player the option before they make the bet of saying like, yeah, I'll buy. Peace of mind is more important to me.
You know what I've always found interesting is if you could bet like this team to win, but also if they lose by like so much, then you get your money back. And the reason I think that's interesting is, and this is not from like an advantage player standpoint or anything like that, but just from a rec better, is like when you're betting, like you're hoping to sweat the whole game, right? So the worst thing that happens is like you bet on an NHL game, you have the Sabres to beat the Red Wings, and then first period, the Red Wings are up 3-0 at the end of the first period. Mm-hmm. Your fun is kind of over. So what I was going to say would be cool is if like, okay, you have it in NHL where it's like if your team that you back loses by 5 goals, you get your money back. And again, you price this all in, but it'd be a cool way to bet is if you like have all these things, because then it's like, okay, you get to root for more outcomes on that one bet, which is the goal for the sportsbook, is they want you to sweat that whole bet. They don't want you to have a bad experience. They'd rather you lose that bet 3-2 in OT and be like, whatever, I was so close, let me bet again tomorrow.
Right.
So in this event, it'd be like, okay, I'm down 3-0. Now I can be like, okay, I'm still in this. Mm-hmm. If Buffalo scores the next goal, I'm back in it. If the Red Wings score the next goal, it's 4-0. I'm rooting for a 5-goal win for Detroit, and I can get my money back. I think that would be a cool concept that a lot of people would like.
I think so too.
You think that would work?
I mean, that's why one day we have to have our own sports book, man.
I don't think that's.
I don't think it's in the cards. I don't think it is either. But yeah, listen. I mean, the discord around these player injuries and like the demands for refunds. It's like, buddy, you placed a bet. The bet lost. Injuries are part of the game. They've been a part of the game since the existence of sports. Deal with it. Like, that's where I stand on the entire situation. And it's getting absurd now. Now, I don't blame people for the recommendation or for the let's say the feedback or the outpouring of I got jobbed, because they know that there's a decent likelihood that they're going to get a refund. So I don't blame them, but it just seems like very cheap to me.
It's the participant trophy like phenomenon. That's what everyone is now. Everyone wants a pat on the back and you did a good job. It's bullshit. It's like when we played sports as kids, it's like you're 8 years old, you're playing house league hockey, you lose 15-0. Guess what? You lost 15-0 and it's on the board. Now they can't keep score. They can't
they make it so that you can't put a certain amount of goals on the scoreboard so that you don't feel bad.
Yeah. Once it gets to a certain amount, they turn the score. Like, it's just, that's what everyone is. And it's just so soft. Everyone needs to win. Everyone needs to be happy. Like, you fucking picked the over and the guy got injured and you lost. That's what it is. You lost. Yeah. It's done.
I will say, though, whenever I'm about to bet an Anthony Davis over, I'm probably going to bet it at FanDuel.
It might, like, at this point, I do think that needs to be factored in at least a bit. If you are betting a high profile guy over, it should be factored in that there is a chance that FanDuel will bad bet, like, because they have done it so much and it's always the high profile guys. They're doing it. So, like, it is what it is.
It's so dumb, man. It's so dumb.
But it's like the Booker one, for example, is like also a separate occasion because guess what? The guy's coming back from injury.
True.
Yep. Yeah, he came back from injury. They said he was healthy. He started the game, and then he only played a few minutes because he had an injury re-aggravation. There's like,
but like you should be factoring that into your bet
when you're making the bet,
of course.
Because I will say I had something. It was I'll plug the betstamp Discord. It was from the betstamp Discord. It was a positive EV play on an over combining Chris Paul and Devin Booker's points. And it was like, I knew Devin Booker was coming back from injury. But based on the expected value of it, I was like, all right, this is a good play. Like, do it. 5 minutes in, he's injured. And it's like everyone in the Discord is just like, like RIP to the over. Like, it's done. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing online. It's just like, you know that's part of it. You got to know when you're doing that. You got to do your due diligence.
Yeah, they also get so much more press than what they actually give back because they give you back refunded stake as a free bet, which obviously it's not worth the same. So like you still did lose, right? You took 100 cash, and now you have 100 free bet. And also what they do is they say like we're refunding all parlays and same game parlays where Devin Booker was the last leg that didn't cash it for you. But they don't refund you like an expected value of like, let's say you hit 5 of 6 and Booker was the only loser. They're not refunding you the win amount that you would have had if Booker won. They're just refunding you your stake as a free bet. So you might have bet 100 to win 2,100 and Booker was the last remaining leg. They'll give you back your 100 in a free bet. They get a lot for it, man. Like honestly,
okay, but where do you
give them credit?
Also, like where do you draw the line? Because here's the thing, right? If Booker gets injured, that's going to impact your Phoenix Suns bet.
Yeah.
So like,
are you avoiding Suns?
Are you avoiding Suns bet? Okay, if Booker gets injured, now everybody who bet the under on the like everyone else on the Suns, Ayton, Paul, Bridges, like those unders are now in trouble because the distribution of points is going to go elsewhere, right? Do you void the unders for other players on the Suns because Booker got like
the whole game is void?
But this is what I'm saying. Like if a key player gets
void
injured,
all my Russell Wilson Broncos bets for the season,
right? But
seeing how bad this guy's playing, that's a bad beat.
But you know what I'm getting at? Like if Justin Herbert, just picking a random quarterback, gets injured for the Chargers in a game, it affects every player it affects all the outcomes of the game. Every derivative of the game is then affected. Mike Williams receiving yardage is affected. Keenan Allen, probably Austin Eckler's rushing yardage totals are affected. The Chargers game spread is affected. The total is affected. Like you can't just void the Justin Herbert passing yardage numbers and say everything else is fair game. Like this is my issue with it. Where do you draw the line? Because if it were me and I had an under in that game, I guess who I'm not a big enough basketball fan to know. Is it going to be Damian Lee that gets most of Booker's minutes? You know, like I don't know. But
but there's a person who it would be.
Sure. Whoever's going to get Booker's minutes. If I bet an under on that player and now Booker goes out, I'm well within my right to cause a shitstorm of saying, oh, you should void my bets on the under here. It's not fair. Like this is the issue with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't follow enough basketball to know. Like Cameron Payne, sure.
Anyways, let's get into the second issue. Good talk on the bad bet refunds. This is a big one for a lot of people.
By the way, I don't want to make it seem like I don't advocate for bettors, right? Like I'm a bettor myself. Would I love to get a refund on losing bets? Of course I would. I just think it's become like, I don't like when things are like, when there's indecision, let me put it that way, like open to interpretation. Oh, am I going to get a refund? Am I not? Like either make a rule or just don't do it. Like that's my stance on it. Just make it more clear cut so it doesn't turn into...
But they can't because then they would have to give it for all the specific things. They want to be able to pick and choose based on liability, which is also... from a business perspective, fair. What they're saying is,
but
okay,
it's actually unfair to all the bettors. It's fair to like for some bettors it's a positive, for some it's not, which I think is unfair.
And for example, like if you're a guy who
I'm a huge fan of Pinnacle, and one of the reasons we have Pinnacle sponsoring this show is because it's like the same limits to all, right? It's like if I go into Pinnacle, I'm treated the same way as Zach, and I'm treated the same way as you, and that to me is very important for a sports book. Now, there's not very many sports books in the world that are going to do that, but it's the same. I feel the same principles should apply to other sports books as well. It's like you have to treat everybody in the same way. And this is just arbitrarily picking and choosing.
Yeah. Like I told you, I think it was 3 weeks ago or something, when McKinnon got injured, I had McKinnon anytime goal scorer in that game. He got injured within the first 10 minutes of the first period. Yeah. Why didn't I get a refund?
Exactly. But like this is what we get to nowadays. And anyways, we're talking about sports books. I'm sure they're happy for the publicity. But I just don't think this is something that just particularly bothers me. Speaking of things that bother people.
Uncle K.
Uncle
Joey Knish.
Joey Knish. So Joey Knish is a fellow content creator here at the Hammer Betting Network. You can follow his channel on YouTube here at Hit the Book CFB. He does a show every Monday with Brad Powers and a show on Friday with Tom Casale breaking down the college football slate. Joey Knish is a very outspoken person.
If you don't follow his show, just go give it at least a watch. It's very entertaining, and there's going to be a lot of college sports content coming soon.
For sure. We're moving into college basketball fairly shortly here as well. But Knish is, I would call him a friend of mine. I interact with him quite a bit offline. He's a very outspoken person. Let's just put it that way. He's not someone that's going to be shy and keep things to himself. If something is on his mind, he's going to tweet about it. To each their own. I'm not going to tell people what to do. I'm not here to tell Hammer content creators, you got to toe the line or do this and that.
What about his tweet that went absolutely nuclear, dummy viral from the World Cup?
That one, yes,
he took some heat for that, but that one went absolutely crazy viral. Like, I've never seen a tweet from gambling Twitter go that viral.
It was a joke. Yes, some people. Again, we're living in 2022, going on 2023. The ability for some people to take a joke is not there right now. Whatever, but that was a huge one. Also,
we're going to be going back for a bit here.
He has beefed with Dave Portnoy in the past before. Dave Portnoy did call him a card counter, I believe.
A glorified
card counter. But Knish is going to speak his mind. We have friends over at Unabated as well. We've had both Rufus Peabody and Captain Jack Andrews on this show before on Circles Off. Rufus, prior to when we were live on YouTube, you can listen to that episode in podcast form. Captain Jack was one of our first YouTube guests as well. We have respect for the guys at Unabated, but Unabated does sell tools that help bettors profit. And they recently released a teaser calculator, which essentially allows you to put in different bets at sports books, calculate teaser prices, and see whether or not you're getting positive expected value or not. And a couple people, one being Pikachu Bets, who was on our Super Bowl special, giving out a prop bet, have caused a bit of a shitstorm with this. But Knish tweeted, FanDuel just increased the juice on their teaser pricing, as in you're paying higher VIG now for the exact same teaser than you were a few weeks ago. Almost like somebody handed them a playbook on how to remove any edge when pricing teasers. Merry Christmas from Unabated. And this caused an actual shitstorm, I would say, on Twitter of people taking sides one way or the other in terms of whether or not, I don't want to say whether or not this should be allowed, but whether it's moral, for one, and whether producing tools like this in the long run are going to erode the edges for other bettors. And I've used Unabated for, I'm just going to paint the picture here just to make it explicitly clear to people who are listening of where I stand on the situation. But I've used Unabated. I am an Unabated subscriber for one specific use case that I find it very valuable for me, which saves me a lot of time and is just easy to use. I went through the teaser tool yesterday as a whole to play around with it and see if it works and what it does. And what's happened here is FanDuel has adjusted their teaser pricing for NFL and college football. But there are teaser edges, not only at FanDuel, but at a lot of other sites that still exist using the tool. So I just want to paint a clear picture of this here. But I'll let you speak in a second. I think a lot of this, the hate towards Unabated in particular, or when people start to call them out and like putting stuff behind a paywall and so on and so forth, I personally believe a lot of this stems from Rufus's previous viewpoints in life about touts. And touting anything essentially makes you a scumbag. And now trying to draw a distinction between a tout service giving out picks and a service that's providing value for bettors in another way, and saying that those are two different things and that those are, one is okay and the other is not. That's what I think causes the most beef with people when they look at this situation from the outside in. Would you tend to agree?
I mean, yeah, for the most part, I agree. Like, people are allowed to change their stance. That's life. Like, you're allowed to say, hey, I think this is right. And then the next year be like, oh, well, actually, look, I was wrong a year ago. This is actually fine. So I don't even really have that much of a problem with that. But I do see that's why people are a little upset. It's like, hey, like it used to say in Rufus's bio, like, not here to sell you anything. And then he just removed that one day and launched the product. So again, I don't mind it. It's fine. Like, you're allowed to sell stuff, and everyone, as Spanky says, everyone has the right to earn. It's all good. But I see how people are upset about that.
I think, so there's been a lot of discourse about this and back and forth, and Rufus responded, Captain Jack responded. And, you know, I think potentially the way that it was handled in the public forum has led to this, you know, continuing on longer. And like, I think this was originally just Knish speaking. Knish has spoken out about spank odds before. Let me put it this way, okay? He's talked about spank odds when spank odds launched in the first month of it launching. And basically, quote unquote, like paraphrasing here, said the product is garbage. You know, it logs me out, can't, you know, and I think Spanky responded to that in a way of like, you're right. Like, we're working to make it better. It's a free product right now. Like, we'll improve it. But the response from Jack and Rufus here was very defensive. And when people see that, especially the gambling Twitter community, then I think it's an invitation to just pile on even more and push the envelope even further.
Fair enough. So I'll give my quick stance on here for this. Number one, I will say it's pretty impossible for them to win at this point, because the majority of people who are kind of quote unquote bashing them, they would bash anyone for any product, right? So if you sell something that's like, hey, if Rufus were to sell his picks, for example, hey, I'm giving out picks, they'd be like, you're giving out picks, it doesn't work the market, ruins it. Like, if someone else were to sell something where it's like a pick selling service, or a data selling service, they'd be like, oh, that's not helping bettors win, you're scamming for your own pockets. Mm-hmm. In this scenario, they're giving out something that I think most people are acknowledging actually would help people win, and that's why the sportsbook has actually had to adjust their pricing. And they're saying, well, you're giving out something that helps people win, like, this is ridiculous, like, it's going to ruin the edge for all of us. So really, you just they can't win. And I feel a little bad in that sense. So like, it's impossible to win. You know, if it's one way, then you're scamming, giving out something that's not good. If it's another way, then it's, oh, well, you're giving out something too good, keep it to yourself. So I hate that.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to draw the distinction between the communities as well, right? Because this is coming from a more professional community. Like, a sharp bettors are the ones that are upset, because there's a market of people that is going, like a square recreational, someone who can't model games, stuff like that, who is going to be a subscriber of the product and is going to be happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, the outpouring of emotion comes from people who already have built up an edge. And it's like, I don't want to lose my edge in certain things because you guys are giving it away. But there is another segment of the population that doesn't have an edge, and they're seeking an edge. And for them, they're not outspoken on the situation, but there is the other side of it as well.
Fair enough. But for the most part, like, you can't win in this scenario. You sell one thing, you're this. You sell another thing, you're this. No one's going to be happy, right? You're just trying to make money, and everyone has the right to do that. So I do feel bad in that sense. Where I do kind of agree with the other side is, like, to be honest, the only thing that irks me about this, and I wouldn't even say I'm upset. I don't really care about this stuff, to be honest. But
I'm more interested in the drama than I am. Like, I don't have I'm not passionate about this conversation.
Yeah. The one thing that I'd say is kind of handled incorrect is, like, it's actually on the screen right now, is them calling it out and saying, all right, this is like, the edge is gone now. Like, they switched it. And I don't think there's anyone that would disagree that the reason that FanDuel probably increased the VIG on these teasers is because there's a lot of buzz on teasers, and they were getting like, oh, you know what? We're actually exposed too much here. Let's say increase it. And it's highly likely correlated to the release of Unabated teaser tool. Where I do see an issue is, like, for example, Jack and Rufus right now saying, oh, okay, so big whoop, like, FanDuel's out, big whoop. There's still so many others. It's like, you know, for a fact that it's just a matter of time before everyone adjusts, right? So if FanDuel adjusted this, instead of saying, oh, well, you could still bet an NBA teaser, like, okay, for how much longer? They're going to adjust that too. All right. Oh, but you could still bet it at this one book. Well, you could still do that too. I think this would be the equivalent in some cases, which is something that would piss off everyone, is like if somebody started ruining like Rufus's golf edge and was like, okay, here's all the plays, and they gave him out before the openers and did all that stuff. And then Rufus is like, wow, you're ruining the golf market edge. And no one's making money now. It's like, it's not helping anyone. And then that guy were to respond saying like, well, sure, these 6 books took it off, but like you could still get it at these 3 books.
Right.
That is kind of where I'm on that sense. I think everyone would be upset, similar to how, someone gives out the national anthem time edge. And then you're like, well, come on, we were all making good money off that. Like you just gave that up and for free, no one did anything for it. And then it's like, imagine that guy responding saying, sure, 11 of the biggest books now avoid this and don't post for it, but you could still get it at Jazz, Ace, and this, and depending on your agent, they still might pay it. Like that, you would be furious. Yes. So that and personally, I don't bet many teasers, so this is not affecting me, but I think the reality is the principle here is that if you give out something to the community, whether it's free or paid, the sportsbook will at some point get a hold of it, whether that's from people betting more on those things and them having higher liability and noticing it on the back end, or whether it's them just noticing it on the front end via Twitter or your site. There are sportsbooks that I've seen in person, physically seen the trading room with the screen open and having Underdog NBA's Twitter news there. And I've seen this with my own eyes in person.
We both
we both have. Somebody, a player getting ruled out, being tweeted out by Underdog, bets coming in on that side, and then the trader going, right-clicking, and limiting all those accounts. We've seen it happen with our own eyes. And that was, hey, I'm right-clicking this because this person was just using Underdog and Steam chasing, and I don't want them to be betting NBA with me anymore. So let's call it as it is. You are ruining the edge for everyone for this specific thing. It is just a matter of time, if this tool works, that you will eventually ruin the edge for everyone. However, it's fine if you want to do that. And if you want to make money off that, that's completely fine. And no one should be telling you what to do or whatever. However, but don't act like you're not ruining the edge. You are, but it's fine. And also, in the event that you can make money off this tool based on the work you put in, that's amazing. And I personally am now going to use this tool and see if I can get in on the action and make some money for myself, as opposed to shitting on Jack and Rufus and Dan and the Unabated guys and saying whatever, because I would rather have them give out a product that could actually help people win money versus scamming data and giving out random shit that everyone else does that actually doesn't help you win money. So everyone in the gambling community, I would say my official stance is this: it's fine what they're doing. And at the end of the day, anyone could do whatever they want. If you choose to give out your edge and sell it for a couple dollars, do it. If you choose not to do that, that's fine as well. Hopefully, they can come out and just say like, yeah, you know what, it is what it is. But like, this is how we're opting to shape the market. In the future, if they continue with this business model, there'll probably be other edges. And those will be ones that maybe affect me a little more close to home. And I promise that I will be not upset about those ones either, because that's just the way it is.
Well said. I think that one of the challenges in society nowadays is that the viewpoints on things are always taken to extremes. Okay. I remember like this, I don't want like say when I was growing up, but even 20 years ago, there were people that were way more likely to meet in the middle. And I think see things from other people's points of view than society nowadays. And this is a particular situation where I think that applies. There are people that already have these preconceived notions of what other people are, right? Like a lot of the I went through literally every comment in that on Knish's timeline, Pikachu's, Captain Jack's, Rufus's, RX Gamble, Gina's, Seth Byrne. Like I went through them all. I wanted to have a full picture of this commentary. Lots of this is just preconceived notions about specific people. It's like, oh, Rufus is this, Jack is this, you're Knish, you're just a shit disturber, you're this, you're that. And there's like no one really arguing at the core of of like what the problem is in general. But look at things from both sides' point of view. Okay? Rufus, Jack, Dan, the team at Unabated is building a product to help sports bettors. Whether or not they are, there's a motive of definitely making money. They're selling a subscription. Part of, what they want to do is monetize that product. That's not a secret. However, people think that because they're looking to make money, that they don't give a shit about bettors. And like, those do not have to like coexist. You can both want to make money and care about helping other people. And I say that because I'm in that exact same boat. Like, obviously I want to monetize. Like, I put in work on specific things. I work on the hammer. I work on betstamp because this is my livelihood. Like, I want to succeed. And my definition of a success for businesses is making money. Do I want to do that at the expense of selling out? No. Some people might say, oh, you work with sportsbooks, you're already selling out. I don't agree. I bet at all the sportsbooks that I promote constantly. I would always advocate for betting at sportsbooks unless there's like a risk of stiff or something like that, which is a completely different story. But you can both want to help other bettors and want to make money. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. So from that point of view, I really sympathize with Jack and Rufus because like that's natural. You can also want to make money, want to help other bettors, and not want to give away your biggest edges. That's completely fine.
Well, it's an EV calc. I'll say this. Sorry to cut you off, but like, listen, say what you want about Jack and Rufus. Okay, you could say, oh, these guys are idiots. They're doing all this stuff, whatever. I don't personally think that. I think they're both smart people. What I do know for a fact about both of them is they're both very calculated and like analytical in a sense. So you best believe, this is nothing new. It's nothing that they wouldn't want me sharing, that they had a chat and said, hey, this is the amount of money we can make off of these tools. And it's probably a good amount. But we think if we release it, build this product, we have a higher expected value to be able to sell this company for a larger amount. There's nothing wrong with that. There's like Rufus wins money betting sports. There's no reason why he can't also try to build a side business that he can one day sell that would make a potentially larger amount of money. So he's saying, well, I could grind out these teaser edges and a few of the other edges I'm giving out, and I might make this much money. This is my projected expected value. If I build this and grow the company, we have a this % chance of exiting at this valuation, and this is a higher expected value for me. So I'm willing to play it a little more risky, and I'm willing to do this and try to grow this thing. Like, I don't mean to even like, now I feel like I'm defending Rufus and Jack a lot. I really think that they are being a little bit inauthentic here with what they're doing. If they just said that, they'd get a lot more support. Like Spanky, for example, like this is almost a not apples to apples comparison, but Spanky's directly come out. He tweeted it the other day, like, hey, just want to let everyone know Spank Odds is going to be free for a little longer. However, it's not because I'm a nice guy. It's not because I'm a nice guy about this. I think he thinks that the best value for him is to leave Spank Odds free for a little longer, get people to use the product and where they can't live without it, and then slap the price tag on them. So they're like, okay, I think it's fair now to like, he has literally tweeted this. Don't kid yourself. I'm trying to earn like everyone else. Anyone telling you otherwise is either delusional or a bullshitter. And I'm open about this too. We always say it. Like, yes, I don't agree with that
though necessarily, by the way. Like, I think that there is a small subset of people that might not be just trying to earn. Like, it's not me, it's not you, it's not other people. But I do think that there could potentially just be people that are out there that maybe their reputation is more important.
But that's earning eventually. So earning doesn't have to be money. Yeah. But like, listen, we do this podcast. We did it for free. We now have a sponsor. We're grateful to have Pinnacle, one of the sharpest book, probably the sharpest book in the world, one of the best books to play at. But we did this podcast for free for over a year, where Rob and I grinded it out, and we actually lost a lot of money on the podcast. We had to spend our time, equipment.
We have to pay producer Zach.
We have to pay for all the hosting, actually like getting this out, artwork, all that stuff. And it's all good. We invested that because we thought that one day the podcast would be worth something. And we thought that in the event that it's not worth something, at least it gives us a platform to speak to, thousands of people. And also on top of that, it gives us the chance to build our own personal brand. So when Rob goes on these media appearances, what's he doing? He's not collecting a fee to go on Miami radio. He's not collecting anything. But what is he's doing is, okay, now more people in Miami are going to follow him. He's going to get more followers, build his personal brand, all this stuff. So enough of this bullshit about, oh, I just do it for free. No, you're always selling something. You're always building your own personal brand. And that's okay. You're going to be able to do that. It's fine. But to say like, no, I'm only doing this, like I'm righteous and everyone else is not. It's like, it's now that's when people, and again, not me, but a lot of people then start to say like, wow, these guys are inauthentic. I don't really support that anymore. Like, I don't love what they're doing. I wish they would just come on and say it. And I don't think anybody right now in the gambling community is chirping spank odds in the way for saying like, wow, this guy's giving it out free and he's going to pay for it and he's going to make money off of it. Like, he's going to make money off this. Like, no one has even said that. Like, oh, well, this guy's a scumbag for charging for this. It doesn't happen.
No, a lot of valid points in there. I think that there's a very, very big distinction between selling a product that you believe in and charging people for a product that you believe in, and the opposite of just scumming people. Like, you know, so the people who, where I'll defend Unabated is that there's people out here who just, you guys are touts. You guys are now exactly what you said that you never wanted to be. And I don't care about what the definition of a tout is and whatever, but there's a difference between the Vegas Daves of the world who are complete human garbage, who know exactly what they're doing. They're doing it for financial gain, and they're going to fuck over every single other person in the process in order to achieve their goals. That is human garbage, like complete stain on society. Then you have people who legitimately are building a product that they believe in that will help bettors win. It might not be, it's not Rufus's golf numbers. Like if Rufus wanted to give the biggest edges to everyone, he'd post his golf numbers or something along those. But they firmly believe that they're charging for a product that will lead to profitable betting. And there's a big distinction between that. And if you cannot see that, in my opinion, and again, yes, I'm friends with Rufus. Yes, I'm friends with Jack. But if you cannot see that, you're just fucking ignorant is all. Honestly. Like, I'm just going to come out and say that. You have so much despise for those two people that you cannot see the forest from the trees. Like, you're at this point just an ignorant person. However, I completely understand why a bettor who has a specific edge would be upset, borderline angry or furious that there is a product in the market that is eroding their edge. And I talked to Knish yesterday, and I basically asked him, I'm like, listen, like, why does this get to you? And I'm paraphrasing. I'm not going to read our private chats or anything like that. But he's basically like, Rob, you know me. I get down on as much as I possibly can that I think has an edge. And I actually do bet teasers at different sports books. And I was betting NFL and college football teasers at a specific sports book that has changed their pricing now. So they have, in essence, eroded one of my edges. Is it big? No. But more and more of this stuff is going to happen. And that's a perfectly fair viewpoint. He doesn't publicly say that here. However, that is a fair viewpoint. So you can be on opposite sides of things, but like, just put yourself in for 1 second in the shoes of other people. And there's a complete inability of all the people that are arguing in this entire situation just to see things from someone else's point of view. That's all I'm getting at, is that you might have a moral dilemma with people selling anything. Fine. I'm not going to change your mind on that. You might have, a personal issue with Knish, Jack, Rufus, Pikachu, whoever else is involved here. I'm not going to change your mind on these people. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. But like, take a step back, everyone breathe, and like, internalize why someone else might be upset about something. And then instead of dismissing their opinion and saying, no, you're an idiot for thinking like this, just like agree to disagree. You're never going to appease everyone. You put out betting tools, that are helping a specific subset of people, it's going to hurt a specific subset of people. And you just have to deal with that.
Yeah, fair enough. This is also bad for Unabated, though, if they keep losing the edges, because Unabated's money has got to come from the user base, which in turn has to make money from the sportsbook in order to keep paying the subscription. So the more that they can not have the edges ruined, the better for everyone, including their own product, right? So that's another thing is like, I don't think that people realize like Unabated is not trying to ruin the edge for everyone. In fact, like if they ruin all the edges that they have, then their product now becomes essentially not valuable to the better. So it's not like they're trying to do this on purpose, it's just a byproduct of something that happened. And I feel like, you know, at the end of the day, if they could choose, hey, would we want this edge still there or gone? They'd obviously choose to have it still there. So we'll see how it ends up playing out.
Well, they also don't want to just keep building like a tool that's going to last for 2 months and then is no longer going to be relevant.
I think this one was less. It was a couple weeks, right?
Sure, but
3 weeks.
The product is not that the teaser tool is not irrelevant now, by the way. Like I will clear that up. I did use the teaser tool. You can still find a lot of edges on teasers right now. So it might have eroded an edge at one specific sportsbook for a couple sports. It's not rendered obsolete. But definitely in their business model, I don't think that they want to keep creating stuff where the edge is going to vanish like that, and then they're just going to have to keep iterating. That's probably not going to work out. With that said, here's the critique I will make of Unabated in this situation. I'm not an expert marketer. I actually market myself very poorly, in my opinion. I'm not someone who gets in front of the camera like, you know, Portnoy style with the messages. You know, I kind of don't really like doing that. I probably could have built a bigger brand for myself if I did things in a different way. Didn't want to go down that path. With that said, I think that this was a missed opportunity by Unabated to market their product. So in my opinion, I think they would have been better off rather than like engaging in the Twitter debates and the wars, using this as leverage to promote the tool and their tools. Like if a sportsbook is going to adjust their pricing based off of your product, there is a very positive angle that you can spin that into. And it's not even really a spin. It's actually a very positive. It's like sportsbooks are literally paying attention to what we are doing now because we are providing value.
Because it wins.
Because it wins. Like that is the message.
Yeah, which nobody has debated, by the way. And that's another point is like the stuff that they're giving out is valuable. Amazing. Like thank you for that. Like it's crazy how people are so negative about that. Like in the event that they were giving out something that wasn't value, they'd be getting 10x the hate.
I honestly don't think that, I personally don't think that a lot of people that argue with Unabated guys have ever even really used the product or looked at it. I'll be real with you.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I've used it. I don't use it too often, just because like
it's to each their own. Like a lot of people out there might have built their own tools to do this stuff already, so I get it. But like, I see a lot of comments that are just inaccurate in the critique of the tools. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you guys are doing this. You got actually like, no, they're not. So, but
the thing with Unabated also is like you do have to do a lot of work to get the play.
Sure.
And so like they're not just giving out, like if you go on the site, even with the paid version, there's nowhere where it just says like bet these 7 plays and you'll make money. And I think that's another distinction that Rufus and Jack have made in the positive light that, you know, they're not just giving out plays to anyone. Like they're giving you the opportunity to find them yourself, which helps preserve the edge and helps the sportsbook not just be able to be like, oh, if they bet these 6 things, I'm limiting these accounts.
Right. Like think about the teaser shopper, right? As an example, they could have easily just created, here are all the teasers to play today.
Yeah, it's a bad move though.
Of course, because then every single that is going to alert a sportsbook very like. So I think the tools were built in a way to be sustainable. For the most part, like they're never going to be fully sustainable, but I think they're built in a way where the edge can be sustained for a longer period of time. But I think there's a lot of misinformation on, you know, in this argument in general, and just a lot of generally angry people. I don't know it's like the holidays. I don't know if that should change, you know, but more people are online. They're at the keyboard away from work and whatever, less sports going on. And it got pretty wild There was this one. There's been there's a guy that goes by Diggs.
Well, Feinberg also had a beef on Christmas.
Oh, Feinberg is still obsessed with the NFT guys, right? With like Bales, and a lot of people have been going after Bales lately. Yeah. There's people that believe that, Bales and company just like pump and dumped NFTs. Like they basically knowingly effed over their following.
I haven't been following much of that stuff, to be honest.
Neither have I. Feinberg was pretty lit up about that. Anyways, there's Diggs. I don't remember what he goes. By the way, we have to on the screen. We have to link to this gambling drama, like the heat map of the gossip and drama, where I'm directly linked to Brett Favre 444, who's linked to Fezzik, who's linked to Spoon, who's linked to
Who
Rufus.
runs this account? Does anyone know who runs this account?
I need to know who runs this account. I really need to know who runs. It's at gambling drama on Twitter. And they posted like this web of how all these people are connected. And
how many followers?
I don't even follow the account.
Go back.
1330.
Well, let's see the engagement. The views on this one.
Yeah.
35K views.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
man.
So there's me.
That's hilarious.
There's me and Knish in the right, and plus EV from the Hammer Betting Network. We're all directed out. There's Zalbert in the corner. In the bottom left corner out on his own, just overseeing everything that's going on. By the way, this guy, Matt Zalbert, is not a real person. Like, this guy jumps in on conversations with zero context and just like starts complaining about like, where is this person's documented picks? It's like, Zalbert, these people are professional.
Who's the top left trophy guy?
That's Fezzik.
Is that Fezzik?
That's
okay.
Fezzik, yeah. So I'm directly linked to Brett Favre 444 for obvious reasons. I think we've had some back and forths. I don't know if Brett Favre 444 used to be Dale Doback on Twitter, but if he was, it's very unfortunate that our relationship has deteriorated into what it is now, because we used to talk pretty much every day for years, but it is what it is. I want to talk about that connection with Diggs in the middle to Chernoff on the right with Right Angle Sports, because Diggs and Chernoff were beefing yesterday on Twitter, and Diggs in particular thinks that Chernoff is like, shouldn't be moving NFL markets, right? His whole thing is like, you don't really have an edge. You're handicapping based off garbage, whatever. And Adam's a friend of mine. I mean, I honestly have no idea if he has an NFL edge or not, but the market definitely moves off his releases. People value what he's doing. If I'm going to put this is just another situation for me that I want to talk about. If there was someone that you felt had no edge, that's betting into the same markets that you bet into and is moving the lines, why in God's name are you alerting this person and bringing this to the public light? Like, there is a special kind of hate that Diggs must have for Chernoff here to even publicly be saying this stuff. Like, if the guy is moving lines and you think that these lines should not move, then shut up. Like, honestly, stay quiet. Like, if I predominantly bet the NHL, if there's someone in the NHL market that has no clue what they're doing and lines are moving based off of what they're saying and what they're tweeting, I'm not going to be the guy that starts posting like, oh, market shouldn't be listening to this guy, like he doesn't know. Like, stay quiet. I don't understand the rationale. Unless he's trying to fight the fight of like, there's too many people listening to this guy and they shouldn't be, but it doesn't seem to me like the messages have been like that overall. So some of these beefs, I've been going through them. I'm trying to really understand where they originate from. And it's very difficult, but like, lots of sharp bettors in this space are just miserable pieces of shit.
Why does it say by Emma?
So I think this person is trying to lead us into believing that their name is Emma.
Okay.
I don't know.
Rob, how do you feel that there's only one connection to you here? Is that a positive thing, or is that like,
I think more people hate Rob than that?
No, there's way more people.
Zybert hates him for sure.
Yeah, but he's just
Zalbert hates
to
everybody.
everyone
Yeah,
here.
Zalbert hates everyone. So I can tell you all the beefs over the years. There's a group of people on the internet that goes by Cville, right? Contrarianville. This was a, when I first got on Twitter, like in 2010, I was about as square as it could be. And for several years, there was people in Cville that were like trying to point me in the right direction, but I was too stubborn to listen. Like we did the interview with JJ Gruden and Benson. Like JJ Gruden, that was me at one point in life. I'm not like, I can admit it. You eventually get to a point where you're like, no, like I should have been learning from these people. But then I actually got to like be sharp, and there's still there's still certain people in that group who are just refusing to believe that could have happened. They still think of me like I was in 2010. Then you have like Seth Byrne, who's part of Cville, who, you know, he famously called me a goat blower. You know, once a goat blower, always a goat blower. And this was in reference to me selling picks for Prediction Machine, right? So once you blow a goat, you're always a goat blower. Don't ask me where he got that from.
No, that's a common saying.
Sure. So yeah, there could be way more. Like I'm sure there's probably a Seth Byrne, arrow that goes to me. We got probably me out to Spread Investor. That was a
sweat
investor, as he's if you're not sweating, if you're sweating the games, I think he said, right, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure, buddy.
The Pikachu and Jack feud is something else, man.
Man, Pikachu is like, I've met him once.
He hates way more people than just those two.
Bro, this guy was the most down to earth, normal guy in real life. You put a keyboard in front of him, and he's just like. I talk to Pikachu during like CFL season a lot. We share some CFL information. I don't know, but like this is what I'm saying. I know most of these people. I've interacted with most of these people. You put people like face to face, and like everyone gets along. Everyone goes away to their home and they go to a keyboard, and all of a sudden it's like a new world war is breaking out over here with all these people getting like. Anyways, I found this pretty interesting. This web can definitely be expanded, though. It sure can. And Plus EV analytics. How do people? Maybe I'm just too close. Like he filled in for Johnny when Johnny was tending to some business matters here on Circles Off. The guy is like the nicest guy, but so many people hate him. How do you hate this guy? I don't understand.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Like,
it's a good guy.
He's just a good dude. Like, okay, he sells a package, a $3,000 course.
Oh, you could expand this web so much.
This web needs. I don't have the time.
There's no fats. There's no GRP.
Yeah. This could really.
There's no one person in particular. Read more books.
Yeah, read more books.
If you go into that community, then you're just going nuts.
No, that's I don't even consider that part of.
Let's close
Twitter.
off.
That's part of the conspiracy Twitter. I don't want to deal with that. But
Zach, make sure you put the timestamp that this or the disclaimer that this episode is a lot of fluff.
Yeah, well, listen. I mean, I think this ain't going to be the episode that appeals to the masses, but definitely there's a market for exactly what we're talking about. And I did want to cover it because whenever stuff like big stuff comes up like this, through like. Obviously, Knish being part of the Hammer, mutual friends of ours, I think it's worth discussion.
All right. Well, we'll close off right there. This has been episode 82 of Circles Off, presented by Pinnacle Sportsbook. We'll catch y'all next week.